Hello and welcome to the Enthusiastic Life podcast. I'm your host, Brendan Walsh, and so excited that you are here to join us for another episode. My guest today is my friend Armond Rashad Harris. He's the proprietor of Jabs Gym in the Eastern Market neighborhood of Detroit. He's also a real estate entrepreneur and a mentorship advocate around the city of Detroit. Armond is he is a bundle of energy, and I'm very excited for you to hear his story. Just lots of fun things to talk about with his passion for fitness, his passion for mentorship, the pillars of leadership that fit into his mentorship academy. We talk a little bit about fatherhood. We cover a lot of ground, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Armond Rashad Harris. Armond Rashad Harris, welcome to the Enthusiastic Life podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
So do you mind starting by introducing yourself a little bit to the listeners?
Yeah, so my name is Armond Rashad Harris, and the importance of saying my middle name is for Instagram algorithms and social media algorithms and stuff of that nature. But man, I think I'm an enthusiastic guy about the city of Detroit. I'm unbelievably enthusiastic about fitness. I own Jabs Gym in Eastern Market, which turns 10 years old this year, which is a cardio kickboxing gym that has a weightlifting program for busy professionals in and around the city of Detroit. I also am a real estate investor. I have a small real estate portfolio out in my old neighborhood near the airport in the state of Michigan. And I also am unbelievably passionate about mentorship. So I have a mentorship company, and we interact with different school districts to mentor young boys into being successful young men. So that's me in a nutshell.
Love that. And so I always like to start with our origin story if I know someone before we record. So Armond, if you remember, how did we meet?
Well, so these guys may or may not know that. The listeners may or may not, but Brendan is a stud, right? and we were getting after it in the Edge competition at Detroit Athletic Club.
Yeah.
And so we were teammates, and of course we brought home the first place.
We did win the championship.
And just saying, you're just an incredible guy, and I just respect not only your suits but your business intellect and how hard you work on the gridiron, if you will, when it comes to physical fitness, right? Which is, I think, a passion of both of ours. So. We former Detroit Athletic Club or teammates, if you would.
Yeah. So when we were talking, you mentioned that this is not your first rodeo when it comes to being in front of a microphone or a camera, which is not something that I knew going into it. So tell me about your experience in the media.
Yeah. So after I left Wayne State University, I worked for a company called Sodexo, which I loved the experience, traveled for work, but I always had in the back of my head that I wanted to be this TV star, right? And so I got the opportunity from my good friend Mike.
You got to look for it.
I appreciate that. But I got the opportunity from my good friend Michael Merrill, who is an actor in LA now. Literally just starred in this big film on Netflix, #1 trending movie called Straw. I don't know if you've seen it. It was a Tyler Perry film, and he was like, Armond, you should come on this TV show with me. And it was called Last Squad Standing, Oxygen Network. Initially, it was supposed to be on MTV, and I literally moved to LA to shoot this TV show, and I thought from there I would continue to kind of build and do different small shows and do more things on the NBC Universal Network. And unfortunately, I went out to LA, and if I'm being honest, Brent, I kind of didn't like it. On TV, I had so little control of my day. You shoot sometimes late into the night. Everything's kind of designed for content, and that's an interesting place to be. And so I was somewhere in there after a year of being in LA, I moved back here, and that's when I bought Jabs Gym Eastern Market.
Nice. So how do you go from LA and Sodexo to entrepreneurship?
Man, so I've kind of always been an entrepreneur at heart, and I'm a product of, I think, fantastic mentors. When I was 18 years old, I was in a program called Bizdom. Have you ever heard of Bizdom? Mm-mm. And so I think I just was in somewhat of a gold rush for entrepreneurship in the city of Detroit, where Dan Gilbert at the time was recruiting entrepreneurs, where he gave you a count of $500,000 to try businesses in the city. And so this is 2007, 2008, right as I'm getting out of high school. So I was one of two people straight out of high school, out of 17 total, to be in this business program. And essentially, Gilbert was just throwing money out there at entrepreneurs to try things, right? To try to, be disruptive and start startups. And so none of my businesses worked, for context, but there was a crazy opportunity to have that type of capital at your disposal to try and break, get trial and error. And so I always tell people, I think I had an incredible cheat code at my first at bat, if you would, when it comes to entrepreneurship in the city of Detroit. And so I love Dan Gilbert. I love the isms, right? I still use all of the isms in my businesses today. And so that's kind of how I started entrepreneurship in the city. And then I went into corporate, from getting cold feet, and then came back out and started to open more businesses.
So what did you learn from, because it sounds like, businesses fail, startups fail.
Absolutely.
So what did you learn from those when you took some time off of the entrepreneurship game that you then brought to your current endeavors?
Man, I think if I can steal some isms here, I think one of the most important isms is the inches we need are all around us. And one thing I thought that my experiences from, I guess, TV to playing college football to my experiences growing up to my business experiences, I thought all those were kind of separate things, right? My experience in corporate. But I realized all those are small little inches I needed to develop and to be able to run a successful small business, in the city today, right? Like all those small little inches kind of added up to what has helped me have a business that's turning 10 years old, right? Most small businesses are underfunded, undercapitalized, are failing in the first, 3 years, I think it is. 90% of small business fail in 3 years. And here we are this year turning 10. I think all those experiences have essentially added up to a sum total of what has made me, I think, mildly a successful entrepreneur today, right?
Yeah. So some folks might not know what an ism is. Do you mind sharing with us what are the? You don't have to lay out all of them, but where do they come from?
Well, the isms are essentially the thought process that Gilbert runs his family of companies on, right? So like Quicken Loans, Cleveland Cavaliers, all these different companies operate off of these. They're kind of like mantras, if you would. We eat our own dog food. We are the they. Like they have this like mantra of like, this is how we think about business. This is how we treat each other in business, and this is how we solve problems. So I think it's a great. I read another book by Ray Dalio called Principles, and he's a billionaire hedge fund manager, and you probably know Ray Dalio. And am I saying his name right? Ray Dalio?
I think so.
I think it's Ray Dalio. And he has principles, right? His thing is principles. And he talks about this roadmap or these rules for how he interacts in business. And I think that was just a game changer for me, not only with Jabs Gym, but how we run our real estate portfolio, how we run our educational programs in school districts, and how we treat each other in the company when it comes to solving problems about who's right. It's not about who's right, it's about what's right. That's another ism. But it kind of frameworked the thought process that I use to solve problems when it comes to starting businesses.
Nice. So you have 3 businesses now.
Yes.
And I think businesses are a little bit like our children, right? People might ask like, who's your favorite child, right? I have 3 kids. People ask, who's your favorite? And I would say I don't have, it's impossible to say you have a favorite. You have,
right, absolutely.
You look at them all in their own, right? And children, how you see them is, different based on the day, right?
Absolutely,
the hour.
Absolutely.
And I figured that might have, tell me about your businesses and kind of where they fit in your heart.
Yeah, well, so for context, Brent, I have more than 3 businesses, right?
Okay.
I only name those 3 because those are the only 3 that actually make money. Like if I'm being completely honest, like I've tried a lot of different businesses, right? Trying some still, right?
Yeah.
But and I think that's the excitement of entrepreneurship. But I think when I think about it, the business closest to my heart has to be Jabs Gym, because it's a relationship business, right? It's not a business where, one day you're gonna make, $1 million, right? It's not that business, but it's that business that's unbelievably consistent because it's based on your relationship with people. And I think one of the most important things that most important, I guess, resource that we have in business, and you tell me if you agree, is like the human capital. And so I think real estate is exciting, and real estate's a buzzword. And so you build your wealth in real estate, and it's a great business, but it has very little to do with people. It has a lot to do with, if you know how to, keep your costs low when it comes to remodeling and drywall and windows and, like it's in timing, and if you have good relationships with contractors, right, which are people. But I think Jabs, man, it's such an important business because it's my business that is connected to my passion when it comes to specifically defeating diabetes is the reason why I started the business, right?
Tell me more about that.
Well, yeah, my grandfather had diabetes in a very ignorant way. I thought as like a young kid, like when I get older, I'm going to defeat diabetes. I'm going to make sure it doesn't exist anymore, right? Thinking that diabetes was somehow this like final character on a Mortal Kombat game or something, right? Like that's how I thought of it as like a teenager. And probably maybe younger than that. I thought like, man, I can get older. I'll create things that will defeat diabetes and it'll go away. It'll be done. And so as I got older, I realized you can't make it go away, but you can help some folks get rid of it. And so that's essentially what we've been doing for, over a decade now, is just helping people live more healthy, more active lives.
Nice. So, and what was the spark that brought Jabs to life?
Yeah, well, Jabs existed, and it existed already in Birmingham, Michigan.
Okay.
And there was two great friends of mine, Dave Tesler and Willie Fortune, and I met them. They had this cool kickboxing concept in Birmingham, and so I said, "Hey, man, we should bring this to Detroit because I'm a Wayne State guy. It'll be great." And they're like, "Hey, we were already working on this location in Detroit," and so by that time, I moved on to build another gym in Southfield, Michigan, and then I went on TV. And then by the time I got back, Dave asked me, "Hey, would you be interested in like partnering and possibly being a partner with us at this gym?" And so they already had kind of the framework of what they did there. This cardio kickboxing piece, building people through community. I added the weightlifting program, which I pretty much stole from my time at Wayne State University, like a football-style weightlifting program that still operates to this day. And so that was the framework of what we did. Now, initially, I wanted to build like 300 of these, right? Like I wanted to be like a competitor to Orange Theory. And then I realized that I really appreciate the ability to have a business in my hometown and a business that can serve as kind of like this this nucleus, if you would, of community, of relationship. It's done, all my other businesses have kind of spin off of the fact that people respect the Jabs Gym brand and what we're able to do. And then the network of it all is amazing. So we decided to just kind of keep it here. But when my ADHD kicked in, I forgot what the actual question was.
That's quite all right.
Hopefully I answered that correctly.
I think so. Yeah, we were talking about what was the spark that got you there. So that was definitely you nailed it. So 10 years in, that's an accomplishment. That's really cool. Congratulations.
That's exciting. Yeah.
So you've got so you talked about the heart being Jabs Gym.
Yep.
Sounds like with real estate, is more the analytical side of it. You're not dealing with people as much, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you talked earlier about the mentorship, which when we talked about that earlier, the way you lit up, it's almost like that's part of like the soul.
No, 100%.
What you do. Can you talk about that?
I think mentorship is so important to me. For context, Brendan, every business I have outside of real estate, I used to do for free, right? So like literally, I loved fitness, and I used to have this huge fitness program called Run This Town Detroit, and I literally just motivated people to come work out. And we had 300 people, per workout to work out in Detroit Riverfront, right? And then later I turned into a business concept to be profitable, right? And then mentorship, ever since I was at Wayne State, I used to help mentor freshmen. Because like myself, I realized a lot of kids were showing up, a lot of young guys were showing up just ill-prepared for college, right? Just the level of poise you got to have, the level of focus. And so I said, man, I realized as the years progressed, my life is a sum total of having great mentors. My college coach was my high school coach was the great Tyrone Wheatley, who went to my high school and came back and taught 2 years and, helped me go all-state in track and field. Incredible mentor when it comes to discipline and what it takes to be great at anything. Then I was passed on, where I got mentored by Dan Gilbert and his crew of friends, and I met Magic Johnson through that. Josh Linkner, Dave Bing, so many people he brought in front of me to mentor me over those 2 years at Bisdom. And then later I got mentored by my partner Dave, right? Dave Tesler, who is a guy out of Birmingham, who his thought process really kind of helped me think about business in a different way. And then still to this day, I have distant mentors, right? I'm in some ways mentored by you, right? You're saying, hey, Armond, man, you should be looking at insurance differently, right? You should look at, what you're doing with your income differently, right? And so I think that mentorship is the game changer. I think we love to look at, I read a book about Bill Gates, and he talks about Bill Joy, who was the first person to own a personal computer, right? Mm-hmm. And so we can look at story after story where these great people who have done great things, all of them have done that in the footsteps of mentors. And I realized the difference between me and people who came from a place I come from is their ability to latch on or to find, mentors. And so that's the reason why I put so much time, energy, and effort into, we mentor about over 300 kids on an annual basis. And I love seeing, I've mentees now, Brendan, who are pro golfers now. Literally, one of my mentees just played in Rocket Mortgage Classic, right? And so,
how did that feel?
Man, it's just amazing. Now, granted, I'm not saying that I've taken all the credit for, Joe being a fantastic golfer, but it feels good that I played a role, and we're still great friends to this day, in that development, right? And so I think that's what it's about. It's literally about saying, hey, man, I've been able to do some things right. People have taught me kind of the path I need to go and are still teaching me. And how can I kind of transfer those things I figured out about life, right? How can I transfer those to others, right? I think that's what it's really about. Mm-hmm. Because a few conversations can be game-changing, and so I realized that it's been game-changing for me, and so I'm hoping to do that same thing for others.
I love that a few conversations can be game-changing.
Absolutely.
Yep. Are there any specific ones that happened in your life, conversations that someone had with you, that a mentor had with you, or that you found were really pivotal moments for you?
Yeah, I think this is a huge alley-oop, and I gotta try to slam dunk it, right? I gotta try to slam dunk it. I think that, and I want to give this to. I think that, I don't know if Gilbert said this directly, right? But maybe someone in the program talked about a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong because they try to make money, and the way they taught us in the business program to think about problems is don't try to make money, just try to solve problems, right? And so that relationship completely changed my thought process when it came to business, because people think of business as making money, but really business is just a tool, an avenue to solve problems. And so when I started thinking about solving problems, whether it's diabetes or solving housing problems, people need better housing, right? Or, kids need mentorship, right? When I started thinking of it that way and I started solving problems, I realized my companies became successful at a much higher percentage than when I was thinking about making money. And so I think that's a game-changing deal, right? It's like I get somewhat emotional about that thought, because that moment switched a lot of things for me, and things worked out so much better when I just literally said, forget the money, let's just solve problems.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Absolutely.
Can you think back? Well, no, that's I'm gonna switch gears on that.
Okay.
So tell me the name of the mentorship company that you have. How does that work? What do you guys do there?
Oh, so it's called the Achievement Group.
Okay.
And we operate from 6 main pillars. And essentially, we talk about everything from, economic empowerment to my favorite pillar is the power of confidence. And I kind of want to stick a point in why confidence is so important. But in some people, and I would love to hear, I'm going to turn this question around on you in a second, right? Is some people could be fantastic problem solvers, business owners. They can build fantastic families just if they have the confidence to do it. And so one of the things that I think most people don't really think about is that a lot of times our skills aren't that different, right? it's just really the confidence to like try things, right? And so I think if I had to say one thing that the Achievement Group Mentoring Program did is we instill confidence in our kids, right? In our boys, right? We want to instill confidence, whether that's through sports, whether that's through, praising them for the right type of, getting the right type of answers correctly, and, praising them for curiosity, right? And so I guess I turn that question around on you is, you're obviously this confident guy, right? What was that thing in your life that made you confident enough to build your own business in the city? You gotta have confidence to build a family,
yeah,
right? and have confidence in your skills to be able to take care of that family, right? So what was the thing for you that built your confidence?
To your point, I think it's the people around us, right? I mean, I think, the example that was set for me by my parents, by my family, I was fortunate in that I had 8 years to work with my dad, right?
Oh, that's
and
awesome,
learn
man.
about, so, I moved back in 2012 to join up with him and his firm.
Awesome.
And, 3 years of that was just sitting by his side and learning about the business, learning about what we did, how we help and serve our clients, so that when we got to the point of doing our succession plan and we started the new company, I had my feet under me based on his mentorship, right?
Wow, yeah.
And that gave me the confidence. And then also letting me go, right? I mean, when I started in our business, he was adamant about me not working with him. And I started on my own with a different company.
Got it, okay.
And so having done that on my own for 5 or 6 years gave me the confidence to know that I can be successful in this business on my own. And then when we did our own succession plan, right, it all of a sudden the training wheels were off.
Got it, yeah.
And it's my business now.
Right, yeah, 100%, yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, all of those, I mean, there's so many, it's the sum of a lot of parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
The inches, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like these inches kind of adding up. But I guess that pivotal moment for you was like you're having a father mentor, which is I think the best type of mentor anybody can have, right? Is that father mentor kind of mentor you into the space. I read a statistic, Brendan, that there's never been a Super Bowl quarterback that didn't grow up with his dad. Isn't that an interesting statistic?
Yeah.
And I don't know who even paid attention to this, but there's never been, and in this, I think it was something I saw on maybe Twitter or something, right? But in that statement, it shows all the Super Bowl quarterbacks. It kind of goes from the Mannings to I think Patrick Mahomes is on there. You see Jalen Hurts with his dad. You kind of see all these Super Bowl quarterbacks, right? And you see their fathers at the Super Bowl with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that's such an interesting statistic because who would think? You know what I mean? And I think about sometimes what's Baltimore's quarterback's name?
You got me
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. I think about Lamar Jackson. Everyone talks about he's getting right there. I think about Josh Allen, who's always right there on the way. Everyone's waiting for Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen to get one. And I wonder to myself randomly, I wonder if their dads was around. You know what I mean? Is that the inch, right? We talk about the inches that we need are all around us to be successful. Is that the inch that they're missing maybe, right?
And also interesting what you say about, because for some folks who, might not have a father for whatever reason,
Yeah.
It's that person who might play a father role in their lives.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's really interesting. So tell me about the other pillars with the Achievement Academy.
Oh, yeah. So the first pillar is self-identity and purpose, right? And so the first question I pose is, hey, what are you here to do, right? And I mean, most 12-year-olds are like, I don't know, I'm here, I got to go to school. My mom told me to go to school. You know what I mean?
And is that about how old young men start with you?
We started with college students, realized man, we got to get to them earlier. Started with high school students, said, man, we got to get to them earlier. And so now middle school is our sweet spot, right? Because middle school is right around that time we start to kind of figure out, who you are, right? As a young man, right? And so we kind of, middle school is our sweet spot. We kind of focus on middle school. We still have some high school students, but middle school is kind of where we focus at. And so we have, self-identity and purpose, the power of confidence. Next is communication. One thing I take them through is a lot of them want to be YouTubers, right? And they understand, these young guys understand the power of communication. Mm-hmm. And so literally, kind of like this setup we have here, Brendan, as I set that up for them, I bring in cameras, right? And I say, hey guys, we're gonna practice speaking on camera. Something that a lot of people, the biggest fear in life is the ability to speak in front of people, or in front of a camera, right? It's one of the most, most people kind of hate it, right? They hate speaking in front of people and on camera. And so we practice that with them, right? And then we have physical health and health education, where we talk about the importance of eating healthy. We bring in fresh fruit, where we allow the kids to cut up their fruit and like build a fruit grove. And I bring in dietitians and chefs for that. Then we have economic empowerment. And we talk about money, right? We have this game called Cash Reward. Literally, Brandon, because I bring in like a stack of ones, right? And I say, guys, one of you guys or all of you guys can leave with this cash we have here. And they said, well, Mr. Armond, can I go down to the vending machine after? I'm like, yeah, I want them to feel the experience of like when you get questions, when you get answers right in our capitalistic society, you get money as a reward. And so I sit the stack of cash on the desk and I'm like, hey guys, let me ask you some questions here. And we go through and the class is able to ask, and some of them leave with, 12, 20, 25 bucks, because they got that many answers right. And
they're learning the basics of finances.
Right? And economics. And sometimes we do it in groups where, hey, who owns what percentage of your group? This group is like a small company, right? Are you the principal owner? Just have them thinking about things in a different way. And finally, we have the sixth pillar, which is mapping out your future. And so now I was like, okay, guys, what do you want to be? We play a game called Mr. President, where these guys, I bring in a suit, and these guys get to practice being the president. And they're the president for the day, or, for a portion of the day, right? And they have a press secretary. We have a press conference, right? They have a Speaker of the House that's there with them. They actually have actual security. So we have guys can put, they have security. The guys they got their all black on, they're faking like they're Secret Service. And so we're allowing them to think in that direction of what would they do if they were the president, And so it's just a super, super interesting piece. Some of our young guys, we take them out to restaurants. Sometimes we take them out to like Dairy Queen. Give them an opportunity to go order food, Like you'll be taking back how many young guys never get the opportunity. Their mom or dad, it's like, hey, be quiet, I'll order the food for you. And the difference with me, I think my ability to communicate effectively, and hopefully everyone who's watching this thinks I have the ability to communicate effectively.
I think you're doing okay.
like the difference is my mom was like, hey, Armond, what do you want to eat? And she allowed me to order food, and as small as that detail is, that allowed me to be able to have the confidence to communicate and say, hey, I would like the pasta. Mm-hmm. What does it come with? I teach them to say, hey, how are you? Can I have, this, and that, right? And so it's just getting those reps at being confident young men, moving about and being independent, that we focus on the achievement group.
Nice. So Armond, you mentioned you have a 2-year-old daughter.
Yeah, 2-year-old.
So nothing is as humbling or as educational as I have found as being a parent and being a father. Tell me a little bit about what it's been like for you being a dad for the last 2 years.
Well, what's interesting, because you realize you're trying to control this thing that you almost have no control over. which feels very nerve-wracking, right? Spreadsheets and numbers and memberships and in rent roll, that stuff seems very tangible, right? You can kind of control that. But having a kid that you're literally like, you're here now, for context, almost passed out in the delivery room, or almost passed out there. And then you're on this whirlwind where you're like, yo, you're literally like my little mini-me. And you want to do all these things, and I'm reading all this stuff. Like, am I giving you the right things? Should you have some screen time? Should you have no screen time? What's your bedtime? Should I play with you late? Should I not play with you late? Should I roughhouse you? You're here statistically about roughhousing is good, right? And so, man, I just think that fatherhood is the most humbling thing. Right when I think I had life figured out, all of a sudden God saw it fit for me to be a dad, and now I feel like I have nothing figured out all over again.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you're a father of 3 little girls.
I have 2 girls and a boy. So my eldest daughter is 17, my son's 15, and my youngest daughter is 12.
Wow.
So we're on the other end of the...
right, you're at the end of the runway right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it was yesterday that my eldest was 2.
Yesterday. So what's the? I mean, I'm gonna throw it on you because you're the seasoned dad here. What was the most difficult, if you had to say, Armond, watch out for this, what was the most difficult piece of fatherhood where you would say, Armond, like, this is the thing you got to watch out for?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'm finding as they get older, specifically it happened when my eldest went to high school and was, choosing different things to get involved or not get involved in. And thinking back to my time growing up is that for example, her high school experience is different than what mine was, right? And to allow that to happen.
Same high school
or? Same high school.
Got it. Okay.
So for example, I was heavily involved in the choir program at my high school.
Got it. Okay.
Right? And her freshman year, she grew up singing but opted not to be involved in it, right?
Got it. Okay.
And that was initially for me, I kind of clammed up. I was like,
this is part of us.
Yeah.
This is who we are.
Right. And, but that was okay because it's her high school journey and not my high school journey.
Got it.
Right. And so it's that moment of it's their life. It's not our life. Right.
Yeah.
So we want to, it's that tandem of like guiding them along the way.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to impose your will because you want them to be independent free thinkers and you want to find their own way, but also guide them to make their own choices, but make good choices.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's hard, right?
Absolutely.
It's hard to like, it's similar, I find, with working with our clients of like asking and not telling, right?
Right.
Asking a question rather than telling them what to do.
Got it. Now, what age is that though? Like, right? Because like, I'm right now. I'm at this point where my daughter's in Montessori, and I'm all of a sudden getting all this content on social and whatever because of algorithms and stuff of that nature about like how Montessori's and private schools negatively affect kids, and I'm like, man, like, am I wasting this money? Should I not have? You know what I mean? Because I'm a public school kid right now. I'm thinking like, am I doing the wrong thing? And it's so nerve wracking. And what's your thoughts on it?
Well, it's hard, and I think this was when my wife Kelly was pregnant with our first.
Yeah.
You'd read one book that would say, if you do this with your child, they will die. Right? And then the other one that would say, if you don't do this with your child, they will die. Right?
Right?
And we've been doing this as humans for millennia, right? For so long
absolutely.
that without books, without internet, without all of this at our disposal, and knowing that, it's going to be okay, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's the same thing with school, right? Like there's always going to be one thing that says Montessori is the best thing you can provide for your kids to set them up for future. And there's others that are going to say, this is the worst thing you could be doing.
Absolutely.
And it's discerning what is and it's different for every child, right? Like
Absolutely.
Montessori was awesome for my eldest daughter.
Got it. Okay.
Right? For my son, when he was 3 years old, he goes into Montessori school, and we're doing a parent teacher conference, and we asked him what he was doing, and he said, he plays with magnetiles all day. Because he could focus at 3 years old, right? Like he was uncommon where like he could sit and he could focus on one thing longer than anybody else, but he needed someone to say, okay, Bennett, you need to go move on to do this.
Got it. Right? Absolutely.
Like we need to work on this. We need to work on your pinpricks. We need to work on your letters. So
right.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
So it's kind of this fluent thing where there's no real right or wrong answer.
And which is hard as a parent because sometimes you just want someone to tell you like, here's what you need to do.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I think the one thing that I've learned is I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
No other parent knows what we're doing. We're just doing what we can to be the best that we can for our kids. Right?
I think of fatherhood as like, and tell me if you agree, we want it to be math and it's really like philosophy, right?
Yeah.
There's no real like a right or answer. We want it to be 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
And there's really like no real like thought process about it. So at the end of the day, I think it's a toss up, and I guess we'll see.
We're all just trying to get
years
by
how I did.
and keep them going, right?
Absolutely. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Shout out to fatherhood, man. Yeah. Cheers.
So as we get ready to wind up, one question I always like to ask folks are, what is bringing you joy right now?
Man, I think this, right? I think that the fact that even when, I've been on a number of different podcasts and platforms talking about, my humble level of success. And I think that's unbelievably exciting to me, right? To bring, because I think everybody understands numbers, right, Brennan? To bring numbers into the conversation to make it to make it real, right, is I'm unbelievably enthusiastic about. We live in a country so cool. I'm in a city so cool. Where I came from a city where, the average household makes 34 grand a month, right? I'm sorry, 34 grand a year, right? Where I came from, right? 34 grand a year, and to, have the ability to, make 10 or 20-fold that is I just think an incredible opportunity that everybody in this world they don't get that opportunity, right? And so, not saying that it's all about money. I think it's all about the ability that literally you can create, in this city, in this country, whatever you think about. And so I'm just unbelievably blessed every day that I can even, when I grew up, I didn't even know about the Detroit Athletic Club, right? I got into the Detroit Athletic Club because the CFO of my bank was like, Armond, you're a good guy. I think you'll be great. You should come hang out at this club a little bit. You'll like a lot of guys here. And so I think that's an incredible opportunity to be somewhere in a place where you can change your socioeconomic, environment literally in like a lifetime. I've only been adult for like 15 years. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a short period of time. And not saying that I'm, Dan Gilbert or Illich or Buffett or anybody, but I just know that my trajectory and my ability to, like my daughter is 2 years old and she's been in Lake Como, Italy. She's, you know what I mean? Like, that's a very interesting thing to be able to do. And America's one of those amazing places where you can come from where I came from and have a 2-year-old that's, hung out in Turks and Caicos before.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm just unbelievably enthusiastic at the opportunity to grow. I'm great at this conversation because this conversation is going to build, more opportunity for both of us, hopefully. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be able to be in this moment. Having the friend group I have, having the businesses I have, and having the opportunity to bring more behind me, and just positively affect other people's lives.
And I love that you're able to take that and then pass that on and share that with others, right? So if anybody wants to find Jabs Gym or the Achievement Academy, how do they do that?
Oh man, Jabs Gym online at jabsgym.net, ironically. Jabs Gym on all social medias at JABSGYM. For some reason that was difficult for me to spell. But Jabs Gym on all platforms. And then they can even just search my name and see me talking about, these things I'm unbelievably passionate about. And hopefully, some people will contact me and we can do even more, right?
Yeah.
Mentor even more kids and do more gyms. And so I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, Armond, thank you so much for joining us.
Brandon, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much to Armond, my friend, for joining us. Just such a fun conversation and such a great guy, and just a ton of insight and about being a business owner, about being a dad, and being and helping out others and serving others. So if you enjoyed that conversation, please consider giving us a like, a rating, a thumbs up, however or wherever you listen to this podcast, and share us with a friend. We'd love to get the word out about our positive, enthusiastic life that we're leading. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to having you here next time.